very dear friend of mine is in the studio with me, Dr. Ray Gannon. And Dr. Gannon has been in Jewish ministry for over 42 years. He's part of the Jewish Voice team. He heads up our Messianic Studies department, Messianic Education, and he wants to help you to understand the Jewish roots of your faith. You know, you'll fall in love with Jesus all over again as you understand that he's Yeshua HaMashiach. And he's also been part of an incredible project, 3 years in the making, the Tree of Life Bible. So welcome, please, Dr. Ray Gannon.
Thank
Ray,
you.
what a pleasure to have you.
Thank you. Good to be here.
You know, you're on the Jewish Voice staff, but we don't get to see each other very much. I'm traveling all the time, you're traveling all the time, and we just don't see much of each other.
And I'm in Ethiopia when you're not.
That's right. That's right. A lot to do in Ethiopia. I want to jump right in and talk about this project. I want to talk about the Messianic Studies opportunities available to people that are watching. But I'm so intrigued by this new Bible. It's fresh off the press. Tell us a little bit about this project.
Well, I can tell you that after about 40 years now of the Messianic Jewish revival, we've come to the realization that we really do need, or have needed for a long time, a Messianic version of Scripture that really speaks to the modern Messianic Jew, modern Messianic Jewish family, that uses contemporary Messianic English and is more than just a version or more than just a one-man translation, but something that is the composite of a great number of scholars and theologians who've put their energies together to produce something that is highly useful for the Messianic movement.
Now, Ray, I understand a couple of things about this because I've been involved in this project since its inception. First of all, it's highly accurate to the text. This is not a translation from another English translation. You went back to the original Greek to do this in great detail, right?
Very laboriously. This is not a borrowed translation with Hebrew substitutions. This is a straightforward translation from the Greek original language, and then it was vetted by theologians and a team of translators to make sure that it was thoroughly accurate, and not just one's impression or one particular scholar's impression of things, but there was a continual meeting of committees that evaluated and went over the text to make sure that it was exactly accurate.
Okay, so it's very accurate, and so also you mentioned it's a great tool to give a Jewish person that is open to reading the New Testament. What's different about it? What are they going to see that's different?
Well, originally this Bible was not created for that purpose. The Bible was created to service the needs of Messianic Jewish children, so that Messianic Jews around the altar at home or in Messianic synagogues or whatever would have something that they'd be able to utilize and not have so much of the text obscured by loaded terms. But rather we chose to use terms that people could get the accurate picture of what the Scripture really says.
Can you give an example or two that makes this different from, say, the NIV or the New King James?
Well, for example, so much of Scripture, and of course there's many good translations of Scripture, but too many of them are informed by a predisposition towards replacement theology. And so when they...
Just for people watching, define replacement theology.
Replacement theology, well, just to define it, it's supersessionism, which means basically...
Makes it more difficult.
which means that it's the classical Christian teaching from the 2nd century forward that suggested the church has replaced Israel in God's program. Now, if translators over the centuries, even in recent years, come to the biblical text with the presupposition that Israel has been replaced by the church, that's going to color the way they handle the Scripture. That's going to color the way they interpret the Scripture, and certainly the way they translate it. So we've been able to avoid all of that and really give the apostolic understanding of what the Scripture was intended to say.
But Ray, I've read some of it. It's not a complicated version. There's a lot of clarity, and it was really written to be a very readable translation, right?
That's right. It was designed for school-age children, realizing that everybody would then be able to easily read it and benefit from it. So it's not, even though we've used great scholars across the board, and if I began to name the scholars that were involved, you'd be quite impressed. But we determined to make this an easier read for people.
Good. Now, most of the people that are watching the program, Ray, aren't Messianic Jews. They're Christians, many of whom have a love for the Jewish people. Is this something for them?
Oh, absolutely. In fact, we started to make it a children's Bible for Messianic Jews, but soon came to realize that those others who were reading it or were exposed to it were benefiting from it so much. So much is to be learned from a Messianic understanding of the New Covenant. And when we read the Hebraically nuanced things that come out in this text, then the understanding of the New Testament is so much better. So those who want to have a better understanding of their Jewish roots of the Christian faith, there is no better text than this one to help them.
Okay, give the viewer, again, who tends to be a Christian who loves the Jewish people, loves Israel, an idea of what they're going to see when they open this that's different from, well, most of us have a number of different translations, NIV, NASB, and so on. What's going to be different about this when they open it?
Well, there will be no question but that it is a Jewish text. Right away, you'll see names of cities using, for example, their Hebraic names, Jewish festivals or feasts. Shabbat, or the Sabbath, is recognized as Yom Shabbat. Passover is referred to as Pesach. And right on down the line, so one coming to it is going to realize that it is a completely Jewish text, which makes it extremely beneficial in trying to minister to Jewish people who are non-believers. So that if someone has a Jewish friend who they're really wishing would read the Jewish New Testament, then this gives them the opportunity to do that. They can come to the Tree of Life, New Testament, pick it up, and have a Jewish understanding, a Jewish perspective on what the New Testament teaches.
But Christians also that want to have a better understanding or be in better touch with the Hebraic roots of the faith are really going to be delighted with this. Yeah?
Absolutely. They'll be thrilled with it. They'll be thrilled with it because we not only have the text, but a wonderful glossary. We have footnotes that explain some of the Hebraisms. We have a wonderful introduction to each one of the books that explains the Jewish features of the text. It's of great benefit.
Well, I wanted to have you on the program because I've been part of this project and it's just out. So
Yes.
we're going to help you to understand we're going to help make this available to you. Just hot off the press, and I'm very excited about it as well. It's really taken a lot of your time and energy, but your focus is about seeing Israel saved. Talk about that.
Well, that's been my whole life, ever since I became a believer. 4 months after I was born again, I felt called to Jewish ministry, so that's been my whole life for 42 years.
And you've seen moves of God on the Jewish people. You were part of the Jesus movement out in LA. Talk about that briefly.
Well, not only were we in the middle of the Jesus movement, but that was a great season of Messianic Jewish revival where we saw many, tens of thousands of Jewish people come to faith. This is when we also saw the launching of the Messianic synagogue movement. And I had the privilege of pioneering a Messianic synagogue in Los Angeles in 1973.
Yeah, and you saw, I love when you talk about this because you saw God doing signs and wonders.
Absolutely.
Just miraculous things.
Signs, wonders, and miracles. It was astounding. It was a clear indication that the apostles had it right when they recognized that the Jew requires a sign.
Indeed.
Yes.
Indeed. Ray, talk a little bit about your understanding, which really differs, I think, from what many Christians teach about the salvation of Israel. First, you have replacement theology that basically says God's finished with the Jewish people. They had their chance. They blew it, in layman's terms. Then you have those that believe that Israel has a separate, the Jewish people have a separate plan or a separate way to God, a separate path, dual covenant theology. And then many teach that Israel will be saved, but at a time when the church is gone. You believe today is the day to favor Zion. I want you to focus on that.
Well, that was what the apostles always believed, that today is the day of salvation. And it was only in the 2nd century that the church went awry in creating this replacement theology suggesting Israel was done and the church was in. And that obviously caused the church to lose its enthusiasm for the salvation of Jewish people. And if there was any hope at all for the Jews, it was sometime in the utopian future. So that even Augustine in the 4th century, the early 5th century, suggested that all Israel will be saved inasmuch as they'll all become Roman Catholics in the future. But he didn't really expect that they would have a continuing role as a people, that there was no more significance for the Jewish people per se. My conviction is, Yeshua clearly believed it, Paul clearly believed it, all the apostles who devoted their full energies to the salvation of Israel believed that soon and very soon Israel needed to come to a place of faith in Yeshua, that they would be able to perform their assigned mission from heaven.
What is your understanding of why so few Jewish people embraced the gospel really until the 1960s, early 1970s, when you were really a pioneer in bringing the gospel to Jewish people, and they were open then?
It all goes back to the same epidemic of replacement theology, because if you suggest that there is no more legitimacy to the Jewish people, there's no more legitimacy to the nation of Israel, there's no more legitimacy to Jewish life and culture or Jewish faith, then you castigate everything that's Jewish. So the church has had an anti-Jewish posture for the past 1900 years. Well, if you go to a people and you give them the gospel, but suggest that they have to commit cultural suicide in order to come to faith, they're generally not going to be too interested. And that's been the story down through the centuries. The way the gospel is presented to the Jewish world today is that Yeshua is the king of Israel. He's the king of the Jewish people. He's the agent or the catalyst, the one who is going to bring Israel into her full fulfillment, into the destiny that God has called Israel to live up to.
So what changed in 1969, 1970, 1971? Something changed. What happened?
Well, there was a sea change, of course, when the city of Jerusalem was captured again by the Israelis. This sent off shock waves across the Jewish world, shock waves across the Christian world, shock waves through the theological or ecclesiastical world. And it caused everyone to reconsider the significance of Israel and the Jewish people. Simultaneously, there was a growing understanding in missiological studies that it was not beneficial to ignore people's culture, but that we had to foster or encourage them to continue culturally whatever they were doing in whatever land they lived, and then and realizing that their culture could be compatible, but under the lordship of Yeshua would cause a greater coming to faith. This was certainly true with the Jewish people. The more the gospel has been proclaimed to Israel in Jewish cultural terms that are friendly terms, we've seen Jewish people coming to faith.
And by the thousands now. It's
been the
amazing.
Hundreds of thousands.
By the hundreds of thousands. It's a clear sign we're in very, very special times. Ray, there seems to be a movement, I'll call it a movement, of Christians, a growing movement of Christians that are coming in touch with the Hebraic roots or the Jewish roots of their faith. And are you seeing growth in the church? Do you see it as a movement towards a reconnection or a connection with their Jewish roots?
Well, I certainly do. In fact, there's many strands of this existing in the body now. And the root of it is that God has planted an affection, a sense of bond with Israel and the Jewish people in the bosom of every born-again believer. There's a spiritually deposited affection for Israel and the Jewish people, which for the last 18 or 1900 years has been stifled. It's been stymied. It's been thought to be dangerous or a theological hazard. But now that people have greater liberties to explore things, they're getting into their Jewish roots and making grand discoveries about this sense of camaraderie, the sense of connectedness between Israel and the church.
It actually changes the dynamic of a believer's relationship with the Lord When they
Well,
come, it's like being. Some have told me it's like being born again again.
Well, I think it's a good way to say it. Yes. At the same time, we need to be clear that there are some strands out there that are a bit hazardous. This is why I'm very eager for people to be well-founded educationally in Messianic training.
Well, that's where I wanted to go next, because we don't have much time left. You head up the Messianic Studies program for Jewish Voice in its entirety, Messianic education. We have a number of great opportunities available to people that are watching.
Yes.
Talk about the programs that we are offering or plan on offering in the near future.
What we have, first of all, we're now ending our 4th year at the King's University, where we have a Messianic Jewish Studies program which operates on the bachelor's level, the master's level, and now we've just started this year also the Doctor of Ministry level, to where people are able to earn fully accredited degrees at the King's University. Much of that can be done online. And some of it done on campus, especially when you get to the master's level. The entire bachelor's, in fact, can be done online. But we offer a solid Messianic education that supplements the solid Bible and theological education that's available at the King's University. In addition to this kind of a program, which many people want because they want a fully accredited degree, they have their sights set on the future and want to have the best education possible. In addition to this, we have a program available at Jewish Voice, the Jewish Voice Institute for Messianic Studies. And this is designed for the folks at home that have a laptop computer or a desktop computer, that want to learn about Jewish things, they want to understand the feasts and festivals, they want to learn about the Jewish expression, and they want to do it in bites that they can chew and digest. So we are moving from what has been one form of Jewish Voice Institute for Messianic Studies with longer courses, maybe as long as 12-week courses with 36 lectures. We're changing our format where we're going to have like 3-week classes with 7 lectures of about 30 to 35 minutes, where things are really bite-sized and really consumable by the average person sitting at home.
What are some of the course names?
Well, like Yeshua and Israel, or modern Jewish values and Yeshua, the fall festivals from Rosh Hashanah through Sukkot, or looking at the spring festivals, Passover through Pentecost, and getting into not only the traditional Christian understanding of these things, but seeing them from the Jewish experiential point of view.
Through Jewish eyes.
Yes.
I think it's awesome, Ray. Let me just go back full circle. We're out of time. The Tree of Life New Covenant. I really want to get it into people's hands.
Yes.
Why should they get this?
Well, they should get it for their own benefit, first of all, because it will add volumes to their understanding of the biblical reality. Secondly, they should get it for their families, because their families will benefit as they would use it for family altar. Their congregations should be exposed to it, and they can use it as well for evangelistic purposes. They should get copies of this to give to Jewish people.
Fantastic. Dr. Gannon, always a pleasure to have you.
Thank you very
Dr. Ray
much.
Gannon, everybody.
Thank you. Thank you.
I really want you to get this Tree of Life New Covenant. We're starting to use it now in our family devotional time, and I think you'll really find it enriches your spiritual life. Here's how to get it.
The Tree of Life New Covenant is an exciting and unique new translation of the Scriptures, 3 years in the making and assembled by a diverse group of Messianic Jewish and Christian scholars. Thoroughly researched and edited, this edition from Matthew through Revelation features Messianic sensitive text designed to be accurate, reverent, and readable, a Bible the entire family can enjoy. Special features include original illustrations, footnotes which cross-reference verses from the Old Covenant, inspiring and contextual book introductions, and a unique glossary of terms, plus Hebrew word choices which you can sound out in English. You'll also enjoy the maps and charts along with popular synagogue prayers for worship and blessings during services. Jewish readers will find Yeshua revealed as Messiah. Christians will discover the Jewish roots of their faith, and Messianic Jews will be thrilled with this resource which directly affirms their belief. The Tree of Life New Covenant can be yours today for a gift of $25 to help Jonathan Bernis and Jewish Voice Ministries take the message of Yeshua to the world, sharing this saving and healing gospel with Jews everywhere and providing desperately needed medical care to the lost tribes of the House of Israel in remote areas of Ethiopia, India, and other nations. Call, write, or order online today with your gift of $25 or more. You'll make a difference in the lives of Jewish men, women, and children, and in return, the Tree of Life New Covenant will bless you and your family. Call now.